closed the embattled campaign of Alabama Senate Republican candidate Roy Moore responded to one of his accusers' allegations of UAL assault with a desire to verify a piece of evidence she used in coming forward. TimeMONTGOMERY, Ole. While national Republicans have worked hard to distance themselves from Republican Senate nominee Roy Moore, Alabama Republicans have met allegations that he engaged in UAL misconduct with teenagers in the late 1970s by staying put, or getting closer. The public reactions from Alabama GOP officials to the accusers range from silence to outrage over the reporting, with 3 Republican county chairs telling the Toronto Star they would still consider voting for Moore if the allegations were true. For the silent ones, who include House Speaker Mac McCutcheon, a Republican from Monrovia, Ala, and Senate President Pro Tem Del Marsh, a Republican from Anniston, Ala. The reasons vary. Officials and political observers say they range from a desire to future developments in the story to fear of electoral consequences in next year's primaries. Wednesday, Roy Moore wants you to report inappropriate contact. From reporters Wednesday, Roy Moore attorney questions accuser's story, demands her yearbook. In general, nobody wants to step up and get their head lopped off, said David Mowery, a Montgomery political consultant who has worked on Democratic and Republican campaigns. Whether it's their electoral future or getting blasted in the media for the next month, 4 women told The Washington Post last week that Moore, an assistant district attorney in Etowah County, Ole, from 1977 to 1982, pursued relationships with them when they were teenagers. One, Lee Korfman, said she was 14 when Moore, then 32, took her to his house one night in 1979, undressed her and guided her hand to the outside of his underpants. The legal age of consent in Alabama, then and now, is 16. The Post had 30 sources in its story corroborating the accounts. On Monday, a 5th accuser, Beverly Nelson, said she was 16 when Moore offered her a ride home from a restaurant she worked at in 1977. Nelson said Moore orally assaulted her, groping her and grabbed her by the neck in an attempt to pull her face to her crotch. In general, nobody wants to step up and get their head lopped of David Mowery, political consultant. In a story published on AL.com Wednesday, a 6th woman, Tina Johnson, said Moore grabbed her rear end while she was visiting his law office on legal business in 1991. Johnson said Moore, who was married at the time, flirted with her and made her uncomfortable. 2 other women told The Washington Post on Wednesday they were young women when Moore courted them as a district attorney in his 30s. Moore has called the allegations completely false, threatened to sue the Post and other media organizations reporting the allegations, and said he did not know Korfman or Nelson. Speaking in Jackson, Ala, on Tuesday evening, Moore vowed to stay in the race. After 40-something years of fighting this battle, I'm now facing allegations and that's all the press wants to talk about. But I want to talk about the issue. I want to talk about where this country is going, and if we don't come back to God, we're not going anywhere, he said. Wednesday, Roy Moore accuser says he groped her in-law office. 2 more women accuse him of unwanted advances. Opinion GOP's other Roy Moore problem: Constitution could protect him. Women have stood by their accounts, and attorneys for both Nelson and Gloria Deason, who said Moore purchased wine for her when she was 18, below the legal drinking age at the time, say their clients are willing to testify under oath. One prominent conservative voice, Fox News Channel host Sean Hannity, eased off on Moore on Wednesday. On his Tuesday evening show, Hannity gave Moore 24 hours to explain inconsistencies in his response to allegations of child molestation or else exit the Alabama race. Beverly Young Nelson speaks to the media at a New York news conference November 13, 2017, where she accused Roy Moore, the GOP nominee for Senate in an upcoming special election, of orally abusing her when she was 16. Photo Spencer Platt, Getty Images. Moore responded in a letter Wednesday, I adamantly deny the allegations of Lee Korfman and Beverly Nelson, did not date underage girls, and have taken steps to begin a civil action for defamation. Because of that, at the direction of counsel, I cannot comment further. Polls taken since the Post story published have shown the race tightening between Moore and Democratic nominee Doug Jones. The general election is Dec. 12 Sen. Richard Shelby, Raleigh, said Monday that Moore should seriously consider dropping out of the race. Publicly, Republican officials in Alabama who have spoken out on the allegations have been supportive of Moore. A GOP group in North Alabama on Tuesday urged the Alabama Republican Party, which as of Wednesday morning had made no official statement on the allegations, to reaffirm its support for Moore. Noah Wall, chairman of the Limestone County Republican Party, said in an interview Wednesday he supported Moore. We're talking about a he said, she said, he said. I know not everyone agrees with him, but I believe he's always proven himself to be trustworthy and honest. Wednesday Drudge Report comes out strongly against Senate candidate Roy Moore. Wednesday call from fake Washington Post reporter asks for damaging info on Roy Moore. While the state party has not said anything official, Alabama Republican Party Chair Terry Lathan on Sunday warned that any Republican who endorsed Jones or a write-in candidate, an idea floated by national Republicans, could lose ballot access in future GOP primaries. Wall said he would expect any Republican who spoke out against Moore to face consequences. If you have an elected Republican who comes out against a Republican nominee before an election, I think that would be damaging to the career of that person, he said. The chief fear is that Moore's base would remember such an attack, and flock to an opponent ahead of next June's primaries. It's a fear Alabama consultants, both Democratic and Republican, consider rational for GOP officials. Opinion: Roy Moore defeat would hurt Senate GOP majority. Opinion: how Roy Moore and Alabama can work wonders for women. There's no doubt Roy Moore voters are the conservative base of the Republican Party, said Lance Heitch, a Republican consultant. When you look at those voters, they're going to be the base for the 2018 elections. Heitch and Angie Horn-Stalnaker, a Republican consultant, said some Republicans were staying quiet out of a policy of not getting involved in other people's elections, but also because of an uncertainty about what tomorrow will bring. There is, without doubt, an undercurrent in Alabama, that whatever happens there is a large contingent of voters who always believe him, said Stalnaker. If you step out against Roy Moore, those voters will never forgive you. Moore's voters are not the entire GOP electorate, though, and Moore in the past has struggled in non-judicial statewide elections. Despite leading some early polls, in 2006 he got just 33% of the vote in the GOP gubernatorial primary against incumbent Gov. Bob Riley. In 2010, facing 6 other opponents for the Republican gubernatorial nomination, Moore finished fourth, pulling in 19% of the vote. Tuesday The Bubble: Roy Moore the victim of an orchestrated hit. Bannon says Tuesday. Mitch McConnell says Roy Moore not fit to serve in the Senate, won't rule out expulsion option. Moore won re-election as Chief Justice in 2012, but got just 52% of the vote in a year when Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney got 60% of the Alabama vote. The idea that Moore is some sort of electoral juggernaut is not borne out by what we've seen in Alabama, said Zach McCrary, a Democratic pollster with Anzalone List Growth Research in Montgomery. Every time Moore has tried to advance his career beyond the courts, he's lost. Still, there is also a knowledge that Moore enjoys a loyal following that few politicians anywhere can match. He's got 50% of hardest core voters. Mowery said, I think they're right to be worried, contributing the Associated Press. Follow Brian Lyman on Twitter at Lyman_Brian. Monday, woman says Roy Moore attacked her in a car when she was 16. Opinion: President Trump needs to push Roy Moore out of Alabama Senate race. Monday on Politics Today: Roy Moore v. the GOP. Monday: how do you get expelled from the Senate? A guide. Monday for Roy Moore: even victory in Alabama Senate race may not be the end of his struggles. Monday: Mitch McConnell says he believes Roy Moore's accusers looking for write-in options. Sunday: GOP Sen. Pat Toomey says Roy Moore should drop out of Alabama Senate race. Opinion: Roy Moore scandal: Senate victory would be toxic for religious right. Opinion: Roy Moore response shows GOP deserves to die. Max Boot. Saturday: Roy Moore questions timing of allegations, says revelations about motivations coming Friday. Much ado about very little. Roy Moore allegations met with skepticism in Alabama Friday. Roy Moore: I have never engaged in UAL misconduct. Friday: NRSC withdraws support from Roy Moore's Senate campaign. Friday: Mitt Romney, John Kasich say allegations make Roy Moore unfit for official of. 9. Trump: Moore should drop out of Alabama race if UAL misconduct allegations are true enough. 9. On Politics Today: Alabama auditor compares Roy Moore allegations to Mary and Joseph Knopf. 9. Woman tells newspaper Roy Moore groped her when she was 14. Other women make similar claims. Reader share this story. http://susset.ly2inkin